Hello, everyone. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guest may not represent those of the host of the station. Folks, I have an extra special guest with me today. I have with me today my dear friend, Marcia Burr, who is not only a dear friend, she was my first mentor in the land of dementia, and Marcia is a pioneer of getting people, encouraging people to share their stories. Marcia and I would talk about that all the time, encouraging people to tell their stories of caregiving when nobody would talk about it. And now look at what is happening on social media. You see so many people sharing any kind of caregiving story, and that's wonderful. And it thrills my heart to see such a change, and it's about time. And I'm going to tell you about Marcia Burr, spelled B-U-R-R. Marcia is on the board of Elder Options down in Williston, Florida. She is an instructor, certified instructor of Tai Chi, and she also teaches, hopefully I say this right, Qigong, and she has a YouTube channel called Marcia Cares, which I highly recommend watching. There are videos that you will see, even me, my family, people through the years that Marcia has videos of, and Marcia likes to tell a story through her videos. Marcia is here today to talk about her journey and what she went through recently with peripheral artery disease. And Marcia had a toe amputation, and she's going to talk about the resources, wonderful resources that I just learned about. And I want to welcome Marcia. Marcia Burr, welcome to Chatting with Betsy.
Hey, Betsy, it's great to be here. It's really good chatting with you once again. It's been quite a while since we've done one of these. I think we've done about 4 of them over the years, but you know, I pop in now and then when I feel like I have something interesting and illuminating to share. And
yes,
with that said, you did mention that I'm a recent recipient of a great right toe amputation. And that is all because of peripheral artery disease, which really I think should be more encompassing and include the veins as well, which would make it then peripheral vascular disease.
That makes more sense to me.
Me too, because, you know, the leg bone's connected to the knee bone. Well, the arteries are connected to the veins, which is connected to the heart, and it all pumps around, and it's all connected. So,
and what were your people might be thinking? Okay, well, so what is peripheral artery disease, and what were your symptoms that made you wonder, you know, what's going on with my toe?
Yeah, peripheral artery disease is blockages that occur in your peripheral blood vessels. And peripheral means not up in like your chest area or your heart area, but the ones down in your limbs. And it usually affects the blood vessels in your legs. Sometimes people get it in their arms or maybe their necks, but generally the symptoms first occur in your legs. And the symptoms can be really subtle, and people brush them off, which is part of why it's so unheard of and often misdiagnosed and underdiagnosed. It's because simple things like, oh, my calves hurt when I walk down my driveway to my mailbox. Well, that's not a very far distance for most people unless you're living out on some big plantation with a football field long driveway, and most people I don't think have those. So if you walk a short distance and you start feeling pains in your calves, tightness in your calves, that's a symptom. Don't brush it off. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you have a bad Charlie horse, or you have like numbness and tingling when you're laying down, don't brush those symptoms off. They're very important signs that your body is giving you that you have peripheral artery disease. And the sooner you can diagnose it and catch it, the better off, the better chances you have of treating it without having to have an amputation.
Yes, that is very important to know. And Marcia, we have talked about this for years of how important it is to be your own advocate. That if you are having these symptoms, and if your doctor says, oh, some people get muscle cramps, it's, maybe it's magnesium deficiency, to insist on getting further evaluated to find out if you do have a problem.
Exactly right. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask the entire audience a question. When's the last time you went to your primary care doctor and they asked you to take off your shoes and socks and they looked at your feet and they actually touched them? When's the last time that happened?
It's never happened.
Okay.
Never happened.
So there is a big piece of the problem right there, is that we actually need to get our primary care doctors on board with the symptoms of this stuff. And I'll tell you something. Now when I see my primary care doctor, I take my shoes and socks off on purpose, and I stick my little piggies up. So they have no choice but to look at them, even though there's only 9 of them now. I learned. And, the first thing you want to do if you suspect you have any symptoms like this, you want to get a hold of your primary doctor and ask for a very simple ultrasound test. It's called an AB, as in boy, ABI, and that stands for an Ankle-Brachial Index. And what this test does is they hook a blood pressure cuff around your arm, and they take your blood pressure there. That's your brachial pulse. Then they put one down near your ankle, and they measure the pulse down in your lower leg. And then they compare the ankle reading to your arm reading. And if there's a big difference in the reading, if your ankle reading is a lot lower than your brachial reading, then you likely have peripheral artery disease, and it's time to take the next step.
Does a specialist do this test, or does a primary care doctor do it?
It's an ultrasound test, so the primary care doctor orders it, and then it's picked up by radiology covers ultrasound. Radiology is a huge umbrella of medicine. And it covers ultrasound, it covers MRI, it covers CAT scans, it covers fluoroscopy. It's done in surgeries, which is real-time 3D live-time imaging. So it's a big, huge umbrella. So it's done actually under radiology, but it can simply be ordered by your primary doctor. It's a very simple, easy test. And it's a limb and life saver test. It really is.
That's good to know. That's never had a show, Marcia, on PAD before.
Well,
so that is
good. So I can be another pioneer in this regard.
Yes, so that's really great to know. I know sometimes, once in a while, I get Charlie horses, not every day. but sometimes I get them. I've asked my primary care doctor about it, and she said, well, stretch it out. I mean, if I got it every day, I'd be really concerned. I've had them, for years, just once in a while, but I'm fine when I'm walking. I don't have any pain. But if you have, folks, I just want to say, any concerns about your medical health, please consult your primary care doctor, because if you already have coronary artery disease, if you're diabetic, or if you have kidney disease, this is something that's very important to, if you have these symptoms of pains in your legs, Charlie horses, muscle cramps, definitely tell your primary care doctor or your specialist, whoever you see, and insist on getting further tests done.
Absolutely.
And you have to be your own advocate.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
And, I'll tell you another thing, like why is this not heard of so much? Well, because our primary doctors aren't really looking out for it yet. And this is, again, why we have to be our own advocates. So let me just run off another couple of things to look out for if you think you might have PAD. Here's a good indicator. Look at your calves. Are they less hairy than they used to be? I mean, women that don't shave, or do you not have to shave as often because there's not as much hair on your legs? Do you have no hair on your legs anymore? That is a definite indication, because hair growth stops. It's one of the first things that stops when there's lack of blood flow. It's not as necessary as getting blood to the muscle. It's like the hair can go. It's the muscle we need to pump blood to. Forget about the hair. Another thing to look out for is if you have skin discoloration on your foot or on your toe. Or are your feet cold all the time? Those are all symptoms that I had. I had skin discoloration on my great right toe. That's how this whole thing started for me. Just 3 years ago, I had a stent put in my pelvis, which is called an iliac stent. And the doctor at the time told me, if you have any problems further down your legs, you're going to have to go see my husband. He's a vascular surgeon. So what happened was my blood flow, she opened up the blood flow down to my feet more than it had been, and my toenails started growing again, and I got this really bad, horrendous, deep under the skin that you couldn't even see it, ingrown toenail. And so that's when my toes started getting discolored. And that's when I started figuring out that it was a blood circulation problem with my other symptoms, like having pain at night, cramps waking me up at night, the cold feet, having to stop and rest after walking only, a short distance. All of these things were indicators to me, and because I do have a medical background, I was able to do enough kind of on my own figuring out stuff that I could tell it was a blood flow issue. But let me warn people, don't just go on Google and start diagnosing yourself, please. You're going to end up with everything under the sun. Trust me.
Yeah, Dr. Google.
Yeah, we don't need to do that. So
yeah,
those are some symptoms you can look out for. And so that was 3 years ago. And then 2 years ago, my toe got so bad that I couldn't sleep at like 90 minutes at a time. It was like someone had taken the faucet on a hose and turned it on full blast, and then stepped on the hose and crimped it off, and it felt like my big toe was going to explode. That's how bad the pain was. Wow. And unfortunately, I didn't have good insurance back. I didn't really have any insurance until about 4 years ago. And from about a decade of dementia caregiving, I was playing catch-up on my own health. And unfortunately, we caught my peripheral artery disease at stage 3, which is critical limb-threatening ischemia is what it's called. That's the medical term for very severe lack of blood flow to your limbs. And I had complete blockages in so many of my arteries in both my legs, but my right leg was the one that was showing symptoms. My left leg's just as bad as my right, but it's asymptomatic at this point. So we're not messing with it right now. We're working on my right leg. Unfortunately, because we caught this at stage 3 of PAD, I ended up having to have an amputation because the very tip of my toe got dry gangrene or osteomyelitis, which is a bone infection, and it was spreading slowly up my bone. So that's why my toe had to go. But honestly, I'm glad that they took it off.
Yeah, what is that? I know what it felt like, Marcia, when I had a hysterectomy and I lost that, and I felt like a sense of, a loss, a grieving. I lost a part of my body. I didn't feel that way when I lost my gallbladder, but with my female organs, I did. I felt like a sense of loss. Did you feel a sense of loss in losing your toe?
Oh, yeah, I went through the whole gamut, and I started out in firm denial. I argued with my podiatrist for 2 months about how much of my big toe should be chopped off. I even got my interventional cardiologist in on the conversation, and he sided with me. And so they just chopped off the very tip end of my toe, and that procedure failed because, yeah, there was blood flow down to my toes at this point, but not quite enough to keep the tip of my toe from staying viable. So then I had to go back in on March 7th and have my entire great right toe removed. So, I was in denial about it, stubborn about it, being a medical person who thinks she knows everything kind of attitude about it. And I had to go back to the podiatrist and say, well, I guess you were right after all, but, we did give it the old college try. And she laughed and agreed, and she said, hey, it was worth the effort. Because when they take off your entire big toe, they're taking off a big part of the ball of your foot, which handles balancing. And believe me, it's been an adventure and a journey learning how to rebalance on 9 toes instead of 10. And that's where my Tai Chi and Qigong has really been beneficial for me.
I'm sure that helped you with your balance, getting your balance back, because I don't think people think, okay, so you lose your big toe, how does that affect your balance? A lot of people might think, you could just walk normally, but you have to relearn how to walk and balance yourself?
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Because think about it, your big toe, that part that sticks out on the insides of your legs, that bone that sticks out there, that is all part of your big toe. And when they chop that off, you're losing a big portion of the base of your foot, which is the base of your balance. Your toe, your foot isn't as wide as it once was. It's narrower now, so you have less foot to balance on.
So that explains why my son's friend, who had a toe amputation, that's why I see him have trouble walking. You can tell.
And, it's been 7 weeks since my amputation surgery, since the second one, and I still have a little slight limp in my gait. But trust me, I practice walking every day, consciously, mindfully, going, putting my weight through properly and being very mindful of how my foot mechanics are doing, how I'm moving properly. And it does take some brain retraining. It does. But again, since I've been practicing Tai Chi and Qigong for so long, it's kind of second nature to me to balance.
Well, for people who have not taken Tai Chi or the other one, Qigong, do they go for physical therapy to
sure.
get
I'm
their
doing
balance back?
Physical therapy. I have in-home physical therapy twice a week. And the PT person says, wow, your balance is great. And I said, well, good. Let's work on strengthening my right leg because I've been gimping around walking unevenly for the past 2 years, and my right leg is a lot weaker than my left leg. So that's what I've been focused on in my PT. But people just starting out or lead very sedentary lifestyles and aren't very active and don't get up and walk much, they would be good to have PT that includes an extensive balance portion to it as well. And there's all kinds of simple little exercises that can be done. I'm gearing up to doing some more YouTube videos to show some of these exercises, but first things first, and that means being the care receiver and continuing the care of my foot until my incision is completely closed. And it for the most part is, but there's still one little tiny area that might possibly open up again if it got traumatized. So I'm being extra careful still for, another month. Although I was told today that I can actually go out and start doing my outdoor jobs again, which thrills me no end. I can't believe it because I've been cooped up in my home. I have spring fever and cabin fever.
Yeah, you are an outdoors person. You like working outdoors. How can someone go about picking a doctor to?
Great question, Betsy.
With their toe. I know you mentioned interventional cardiologist. What is that?
Right. Well, let me back up just a minute. And here's another reason why if you have PAD, it can be a big learning curve to begin with. There's actually 4 different medical specialties that treat PAD. The first one and most often heard of is a vascular surgeon. Well, surgeons like to cut you open. Then there is good old interventional radiology, which has been around for decades and decades, and they do amazing procedures, including some lower limb interventions. And then after interventional radiology was booming, there other subspecialties split off from it, including like neuroimaging and interventional cardiology was kind of born out of interventional radiology. And an interventional cardiologist intervenes instead of cutting you open and doing bypasses. And the way they intervene is through these procedures that are like, you remember that old movie called The Fantastic Voyage, where a bunch of scientists were shrunk down, miniaturized, and injected into the blood vessel of a human? You remember
I didn't see that movie. No.
Well, it's
an
old classic. It's an oldie. Anyway, that's kind of what interventional cardiology is about, because they take these tiny, 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 tiny guide wires and they insert them under fluoro, under real-time imaging, into your blood vessel, and then they they use some contrast medium, and then they follow the contrast along, and they can see where any blockages are. And that procedure is called an angiogram. And from there, if you've had an angiogram, they'll tell you, well, you don't have any blockages, or you're starting to get a blockage here, or you're totally occluded here and here and here and here. And that was my case. I was a mess. And they proceeded to clear out these blockages by using these little miniature guide wires, and then they could do atherectomies, it's called, where they kind of laser roto-rooter out the plaque buildup on the inside of your blood vessel. Imagine a small blood vessel with this little tiny, tiny laser thing burning away plaque inside of a blood vessel. It's amazing, but it works.
Yeah.
And honestly, I went first to a vascular surgeon after I had a stent placement, and I had a complete vein mapping done, and I said, look, I want the worst case scenario. And so the vascular surgeon said, well, you're a hard case. You don't have any good, viable other veins we could pull to use as a bypass to go around this blockage here and that blockage there. And so they tried and said, no, we couldn't even get access in. We had to stop up near your inside your femoral artery, up near my thigh. That's how blocked I was, up in my thigh. And he told me that my choices were to live with the pain or have an above-knee amputation.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, I'm like, well, I'll get back to you on that, Doc. And so then I later asked him, well, are there any other doctors? You know, I mean, this is a teaching research hospital. Is there anyone else I might be able to see who could help me? And crickets. This vascular surgeon didn't even bother to tell me about interventional cardiologists or vascular medicine or interventional radiologists who might be able to help me. No, no, no. You know how I found out? Me, a medical person. I found out because I found out, oddly enough, through my relationships and networking in dementia care partnering, and this woman named Daisy Vest, who's a big-time dementia care advocate, her husband has peripheral artery disease, and she sent me a message one day and said, hey, why don't you join this group, Peripheral Artery Disease Support, on Facebook. And so I did. And I was amazed because the woman who founded this group, her name is Kim McNicholas, and she's absolutely so passionate about saving people's limbs. She's often up in the middle of the night talking with doctors in the ER who are ready to chop some poor person's leg off, trying to say, stop, wait, there's a doctor in town that can treat this without such drastic measures as amputating this person's leg. And so that's how I found the two interventional cardiologists who have since saved me from an above-knee amputation. It's absolutely incredible.
Well, you pointed out something very interesting and important, Marcia, and that is how important it is for us to share our information and knowledge with each other to help support one another, and how important support groups are for information, for advocacy, and supporting each other. It's very important, no matter what your support you were looking for, you know, whatever group, whether it's caregiving or the PAD group or any group, is so important for people to share information to help others. You've hit the nail right on the head.
Absolutely, and I've been saying this for a decade.
For years.
I was saying
yes.
10 years ago in the beginning of dementia trials and adventures with my wife, Gaydana. And honestly, all of the tools and lessons I learned in dementia caregiving have helped me through my present post-dementia journey into PAD. And that lesson today is the lesson of not the caregiver, but being the lesson of the care receiver, learning how to receive care. How do we get good care? In this day and age, it means being your own advocate, listening to other people's stories, doing some research, getting some support from support groups on Facebook to support from your doctors, getting your doctors to intercommunicate with each other regardless of their special fields. Because, again, specialists, they only focus on one little area of the body, and sometimes they forget that it's the whole package deal and the whole thing works running together as one whole system. And so, case in point, that's why I had my interventional cardiologist talk directly with my podiatrist about what was going on until they could come to a consensus about just how much of my toe should be chopped off. And we don't learn this stuff without asking for help. And I don't know why it is that some of the best caregivers I know are the worst at receiving help or asking for help. I don't know what causes that. I just don't understand. And that's why I continue to say, share your story. I've been posting for, I don't know, maybe a year or two now, health updates on my Facebook page. And it's not to get sympathy or anything like that. It's simply to share the story, hoping that some of the information I provide will give some education and support to other people who might not even have a clue that they have PAD, that might be looking at a year down the road having a leg amputated because they didn't pay attention to the earlier signs.
Yes, and that's why it's important. Like, people think, people might judge someone for telling their story, sharing their experiences, but I know personally that I share my experiences to help other people so they don't make the same mistakes that I made, and maybe they can learn from my experience. And I learn from hearing other stories. I learned so much in caregiving groups. When I was hungry and thirsty for knowledge and to know that I wasn't alone. And I was just immediately, when I saw you, Marcia, I know I said this on shows before, I said, I have got to know this woman. Marcia was ahead of her time. I'm ahead of my time. And, yes, I will toot our own horn. Yes, I will. Because, folks, we were the pioneers. And I said it before, and I will say it. We were doing things, saying things long before anyone else. And I'm just grateful to you, Marcia, and always will be, for sharing your story, for being so open and honest. And, by the way, folks, Marcia and Gay Donna, I learned about the happy place. And, yes, I did think Marcia was a little cuckoo at first. How can you be happy and your spouse is dying from Alzheimer's or will die? And, I had to learn on my own. But Marcia was right. You can find happiness along with the sadness. And, you're teaching people about PAD. How important is that? People don't know about it. They really don't. And now people can, the resources will be in the blog that you can look for. So, and get the help.
It amazes me, Betsy, that you can ask 100 random people on the street. Do you know anybody who's had a heart attack? People go, yeah. You ask them, know anybody who's had a stroke? They say, sure. Then you ask, do you know anybody who has PAD? The most common answer is, what's that? What's that? And the reason why it is because it's underdiagnosed, it's misdiagnosed. It's often you go to the doctor, your hip hurts, and they go, oh, well, your back is out. Let's send you to an ortho guy. Or your knees hurt, or, oh, you have cramps in your legs. Oh, well, work it out. Or, they just blow off these initial symptoms. And that's why it's so important that I urge people that when you see your primary doctor, please take off your shoes and socks and have your doctor look at your feet and touch them. Are they cold? Do they have are they numb? Do they tingle? All of these are symptoms. And we blow them off and go, oh, well, it's just, I'm getting older, or, oh, it's just my back acting up, or my hip, or, oh, my knee. And the whole time it could be peripheral artery disease, and meanwhile these people are getting all these other back surgeries and hip replacements done, and all along it could have been a blood vessel blockage.
That's very helpful information. You were a smoker, Marcia. Did your smoking have anything to do with this situation of having PAD?
Oh, listen, here's a weird thing. People with diabetes and kidney problems often get PAD. Well, I don't have diabetes, and my kidney function is great. So what caused my PAD? Well, I'll tell you, smoking and drinking. For 40 years of my life, smoking and drinking. And plus the fact that I just have cement for blood.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to keep my cholesterol under control. I have to watch my diet. I have to exercise. I have to keep my feet clean. I have to touch them and look at them every day. I have to pay attention to what my body's telling me. And this support group was so instrumental in helping save my limb. I can't give enough praise to Kim McNicholas, and she's the CEO of a nonprofit called thewaytomyheart.org. And you can go on that page. You can find the Leg Saver hotline phone number. If you have any of those symptoms, you can call 833-PAD-LEGS. And the people that answer will help direct you to a qualified doctor in your area who will help intervene, hopefully, before you reach the stage of an amputation. And she also won the Best Female Podcast of the Year for 2025, I believe, or maybe it was 2024, but I just recently heard it announced. So she's a phenomenal woman. She's very passionate about PAD, and I strongly urge anybody who has any kind of question of a symptom to reach out to the Global PAD Association, which is the same thing as thewaytomyheart.org, and they will be more than happy to help. Honestly, I can't tell you. Even if it's the middle of the night, I know Kim has taken phone calls in the middle of the night to help someone in an ER not have their leg amputated. So very amazing.
That's great information. Very important information to know, because a lot of people, you don't hear too much about PAD in the news. I know about it because I worked as a nurse, and I coworker, and this is going back 30 years ago. She was diabetic, a heavy smoker, and she had severe PAD. And it's very sad, in a way, to lose a limb, to lose your toe, foot. That's hard to, it's a readjustment. My son's friend, who is diabetic and has heart disease, lost his toe, I think a year or two ago. And he's a young man in his 40s. And, we have to listen to our bodies, Marcia, and you brought up that a very good point with that, because our bodies, when we have pain, it's telling us something. We need to listen.
Exactly. And half the time we blow it off and say, oh, suck it up, push through, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And no, our bodies are sending pain signals for a reason.
Absolutely. And we need to pay attention. And folks, if your doctor will not listen to you, then go get another one. Get another doctor, get another opinion.
Get even a third or fourth opinion. If you don't like what you're hearing, go get a third or fourth opinion even, because it could save your limb. And let me tell you a few fun facts about PAD that most people don't know. Did you know that PAD kills more people than most common cancers combined, more than breast cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, all the main cancers combined? PAD kills more people.
Well, I didn't know that.
Cancers combined. Yes, and 1 out of 5 people over the age of 60 will get PAD. And it's getting diagnosed at a younger and younger age, I suspect largely in part to our diet and to our sedentary lifestyle. The best exercise of all for PAD, believe it or not, it seems kind of counterintuitive when you're in such pain, but the best exercise for PAD is walking. Walking is the very best exercise you can do.
That's good to know, too. Walking is a great exercise. They even recommended that when Matt had got diagnosed with early onset. They said walking exercise is the best thing you could do.
Yeah, Gaydana had diabetes, and, I could always tell when her sugar would go up because she'd get agitated and weird. And so I'd say, hey, let's just go take a walk. And honest to God, a 10-minute walk, we'd check her sugar before the walk, it'd be way high. We'd check it after a 10-minute walk, and it would have dropped like 80 points.
Wow.
For sugar level.
That's a lot. Just
by a 10-minute walk. It's amazing. It's very good cardiovascular, and it's especially good at growing these. Our bodies are so amazing. Our blood vessels are like this vast highway with all these little country roads in them. And like if there's a traffic jam in one area and traffic stops, well, your body builds these collateral blood vessels, offshoots, new blood vessels to carry the blood around the blockage. And the way that these collateral blood vessels are grown is through walking. Walking till it hurts, resting a couple of minutes, rubbing your legs or whatever, and then walking some more. Walking. It's suggested that you walk, they say 10,000 steps a day, but, even if you're just walking 15 or 30 minutes a day, it will change your whole life. It will give you more energy. It'll give you more confidence because it helps with your balance. And when you're not afraid of falling, you're more confident. When you're more confident, you just feel better. And it's as simple as walking 15, 30 minutes a day.
That is great advice. And the older people get, they do start to have balance issues, and that's why it's important to maintain your core strength with exercise and with what you do, Marcia, and which is getting more popular, is the Tai Chi.
Yes, Tai Chi is wonderful for balance because the movements are so slow. It's harder to move slowly than it is to move quickly. It really is. I mean, even try just picking up your right leg slowly and moving it, lifting your knee up high and moving it out sideways while standing. Doing that slow, you might even feel wobbly on your other leg because you're not used to it. But if you do it fast, well, it's easy. So that's why Tai Chi is so good. It's the slow movements combined with proper breathing and the mindfulness, the focus upon which we put upon our breathing and our proper movements. And that's why Tai Chi and Qigong are so good for the body and the soul.
Yes, you're learning. It's coming out more. I think I saw something about it in the ARP magazine. I know I've seen about yoga, but I'm seeing much more about Tai Chi than I've ever had before. And the Qigong, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, you did. Qigong.
Qigong, that's becoming more and more popular. And why not take a class, get it cleared up with your doctor first, just to make sure. I know in the senior center, or my community center in town, I think they're teaching classes in that. I know yoga, but
it could very well be the same class I'm certified to teach, which is called Tai Chi for Arthritis and Fall Prevention.
And that's so important. You read a lot. I have the art magazine, and you read a lot about, as people get older, and I'm 67, maintaining your core strength and maintaining your balance. And I have issues now with my neck. I've had it for a very long time. And the neurologist said, Betsy, you have to exercise your neck every day for the rest of your life if you don't want to have surgery. Well, that's all that took, Marcia. I had slacked off. I did. I slacked off, folks. And he told me that. And now I'm going to physical therapy, but I'm back to doing my neck exercises every day to strengthen my neck, because that's the only thing I can do. I can't change my bones, but I can change them, get the muscles in my neck stronger to help support my cervical vertebrae.
Right.
And
exactly.
Do what you can. And we always should do what we can do to improve our health before a crisis happens. And I know if you're, especially if you're a caregiver, you know that, Marcia. We put it off. And you really need to take care of you. Even if you are a caregiver, you have to take care of yourself.
Looking back on my caregiving journey from today, I think, some of the most simplest things would have been the most beneficial to me if I had just taken the time to do them. And the two most simple beneficial things to help our health, in my opinion, are diet and exercise. Diet and exercise. Eat real food and keep on moving. Keep on keeping on.
Yes, that's that is for sure. Last year, I can't even remember the guy's name. It was a medical doctor. They both were medical doctors, and I forgot the name of the book, but they said that diet helps, can help prevent some dementias. Because if you're on a good diet, and of course, there is hereditary and things do run in your families, but do what you can to fight that. Eat a good diet, a healthy diet, and exercise to help prevent diabetes, which will help prevent kidney disease, which helps prevent, it just goes on and on. It's like
which helps prevent dementia, which helps prevent, PAD, just diet and exercise. Simple, basic things. Eat real food, do real exercise. Pretty simple.
That is, yes, that is great advice. Well, as we wrap up here, Marcia, how can people connect with you?
Easy enough. I'm on Facebook. My name is Marcia, Marcia, Burr, Burr. And I'm the Marcia bird that has a picture of Rosie the Riveter, but it says we can be it instead of we can do it. So that's me on Facebook. My wall is public. I post videos that I've made over the years. I post thoughts about just different things I think about and remember. And presently I'm sharing my journey dealing with PAD. You can also find me on YouTube. I have a channel that's called Marcia Cares. That's a good way to reach out to me. Feel free to send me a message on Facebook anytime. I'll get back to you whenever. And I'd like to leave one last thought about something coming up that I'm planning with Kim Nicholas and the waytomyheart.org. September is National Peripheral Artery Disease Month, and we're going to do a little contest thing called Rock Your Walk. And this was my idea. But the idea is that we're going to be selling little rock painting kits, and people can paint rocks with the pad hotline number on it or the hashtag pad help on it. And they can plant these rocks around in high trafficked areas like your primary doctor's office or the drugstore, or just, at a local park. And the rocks found, the rocks found in the most populated areas will win a little prize. We have different contests running the whole month, one each week. We'll have little YouTube videos. And it's all about getting awareness out about PAD and what you can do to help prevent having an amputation, what you can do to save life and limb. And so look forward to the month of September. We'll be gearing up this contest maybe a couple months before, putting the word out so you can buy your rock painting kits and start painting them. And it's just called Rock Your Walk. It'll be # Rock Your Walk.
Rock your rock.
Yeah, walk your walk. Rock your walk.
Rock your rock. I like that. Well, thank you so much, Marcia Burr, for sharing your story, informing the audience about PAD. Very important. All the resources will be in the blog, and information about Marcia and her YouTube channel, Marcia Cares, will be in the blog that Jeannie White, who's the station manager, writes. So thank you, Jeannie, and Jeannie produces the show. And I want to thank everyone for listening. Please share the show to help other people. That's what we're here for, is to help you. So please share the show. Maybe you know someone that has PAD. Maybe you know someone who has symptoms. Maybe you have it yourself. And the information that will be in the blog is very helpful, and it can really change someone's life. Sharing stories, sharing information is vital, and that's why it's important to share information and share my show. So I want to help as many people as possible, and I can only do it if you will share the show. So I appreciate that. And Chatting with Betsy is for free to subscribe to, if you don't already, on Spotify, Spreaker, Amazon Music, to name just a few places where you could hear it. And I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passion World Talk Radio Network, who makes this all possible. And as I always say, you can follow me on Facebook, Betsy E. Wurzel, W-U-R-Z-E-L. And I have a support group, #Kick Alzheimer's Ass Movement. And in a world where you can be anything, folks, please be kind and shine your light bright, because we need it now more than ever before. Until chat with you again, be safe. This is Betsy Wurzel You're a host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate Rural Talk Radio Network, a subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Bye-bye now.